you the season finale update on Game of Thrones. So if you don't want any of the spoilers, then why are you clicking here? What the hell are you doing? Okay, so let's begin. So we'll begin with this. This episode was by far the best of the season. It actually had some conversations that were worthwhile. It had some reversals that I thought were kind of irritating, mainly because it felt like they were just faking out the audience or providing us information that we already knew, that the characters should have known already. So, for example, getting rid of Littlefinger that way. I was glad that Littlefinger is gone, obviously, but getting rid of him that way in like the stupidest possible way, his little plot to set Arya against Sansa was so ham-handed. It's so not like Littlefinger. Wouldn't you expect Littlefinger to actually go to all the Northern Lords and try to recruit them against Sansa, thereby forcing Sansa to move away from Jon? Wouldn't you expect that to be his move? Instead, he tries to seed some sort of conflict between Arya and Sansa that doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. So that bothered me. The Jon and Dany stuff, I've never been a fan of. This whole romance between the aunt and her nephew. They share 44% of their genetic material. Not like a normal 25% between aunt and nephew, but like 44%. Because remember, her parents were also brother and sister, and their parents were brother and sister. Yee. So that means that the two main couples on the show right now, one are siblings, and the other are 44% related. So that's gross. So I'm really rooting hard now for Tormund and Brienne to create giants that can stride the world. Also, I'm bothered by Dany's obvious liking for guys who bend the knee. This notion, like, how much better would the season have been if Jon didn't bend the knee? If that were continuing conflict? If Jon had said to her, okay, we're going to go fight in the north, and then I don't know what I'm going to do. Or what if, in this particular season, in finale, what if he had not said anything to Dany about bending the knee, and then he had gone to Cersei, and Cersei had said, "Why don't you, pledge not to fight me, and then I'll come north with you?" And then he had said, "No, I'm not going to because you killed my father, and so I'm not going to pledge to anything like that." Wouldn't that have been a better motivation? So that stuff was irritating. I do think that there's a significant possibility that Tyrion actually turned bad, and that's why you have that final shot where you see Tyrion looking at Jon and Dany as they go into the room together. I think he's realizing that this really is a battle of two families, the Targaryens versus the Lannisters. And so it's possible that he made some sort of overture to Cersei that is going to end up getting him killed. That, I think, would be a fascinating twist. But there needs to be at least one more twist, because otherwise this is just all too straightforward. Up to the point where, the Hound is walking up to the mountain and, just throwing down with him verbally for no reason at this meeting other than fan service. So there's that. Biggest pet peeve for me in this particular episode, and then I'll get to all the things I liked. The biggest pet peeve for me was the whole situation where Bran is told by Sam that Rhaegar and Lyanna were actually married. He knows this already. Okay, I understand. There's a point earlier in the seasons where he has a flash to Lyanna telling Ned who Jon is, right? It's actually in the scene. She actually turns to Ned and she whispers something to him, we don't hear what it is. So I don't understand. Does he have selective hearing when he goes back in these visions? I mean, suddenly he can hear it when he's told? We know this already. So that was a little bit annoying. Okay, so here are the good things about it. First of all, I like what they're doing with Cersei. It makes sense. Her character makes a lot of sense right now. I'm not sure what Jaime's doing running off by himself. That seems kind of a useless move to me. But that seemed kind of... What Cersei is doing makes some sense. I think that we're going to take care of the Night King in the first 3 episodes of next year, and then it's going to turn back into the Game of Thrones routine, which is the part that I really care about. Again, a fond farewell to Littlefinger, who was simultaneously one of the best and worst characters on the show. But I'm glad to see that they're getting the groove back a little bit, because the truth is, all the magic stuff has never been my bag on Game of Thrones. I've always been much more interested in the interpersonal political conflict, and it seems like we're getting back to that a little bit more. There were some really good moments last night, and I hope that continues into the next season, which is supposed to happen in 2035, right? It's not coming out for another 8 years, and George R.R. Martin will never finish these books. We'll all be long dead by the time George R.R. Martin's estate releases these books. So we'll give you the updates next year. For now, that's all for Game of Thrones. We'll have to find a new show to recap every week.